Hey everyone, Michael here, founder and CEO of /dev.io, and I'm here with my colleague Emmanuel on the second episode of our Future Ventures Lab podcast, and we're going to be diving into some interesting topics today, ranging from a deep dive into robotics. We'll talk about Bitcoin, we'll talk about Chinese EVs, we'll dive into hiring in Mexico, and a few other topics to really give you a good overview of what's going on in tech right now. So yeah, let's kick it off. So to start out, let's do a deep dive into robotics and what's going on really if we focus on humanoid robotics. So when we look at the humanoid robotic market and what's happening, there's a few key players, right? So we've got Boston Dynamics, we've got Tesla, FigureAI, as well as UB Tech. And so if we look at what Jensen, the founder and CEO of NVIDIA, has to say about where AI is going, he was quoted in the Financial Times saying the next wave of AI is physical AI, AI that understands the laws of physics, AI that can work among us. So what we see is these LLMs have improved massively. We can't really imagine our life without these things. Like when we run out of tokens on these LLMs, it really makes us feel stupid and not have access to the world's information at our fingertips anymore. And what you're going to see is we're expecting to see a lot of these gains affect the usefulness of humanoid robotics. So we've obviously had industrial robots for a very long time, but we're starting to see much faster advancement in what humanoid robotics can do, because things like cleaning the kitchen, making dinner, folding laundry are actually really hard robotics problems. And so now we're starting to see robots like Optimus from Tesla and others be able to do some of these tasks at prices that are very reasonable. And in addition, we're also talking about having some of these LLMs in these robots, and who wouldn't want that? I mean, if you're reading a book, if you're thinking about something you want to understand, you want an LLM right there to help you learn it faster. It's like trying to learn with encyclopedias versus learning with the internet. This is just the new modality of learning fast. And so if we dive into Boston Dynamics first, these guys have obviously been around for a very long time. So Boston Dynamics was founded in 1992. They were kind of the pioneers of this. Videos on the internet have been going around forever of Boston Dynamics robots running around, and they really broke out with their Spot robotic dog that has been very successful. But the price point on these things is much higher. I mean, I think Spot runs like, 70,000 or something for their robot dog, which is just too expensive for most consumers, but still leading the way in a lot of functionality and research in this space. So why don't we just quickly take a look at the latest Atlas robot, because I think that's really cool to see. So let me add that to the screen here. And Emmanuel, feel free to add anything as we go.
Yeah, I mean, you're about to show it, but I think this is like, I don't know, it seems kind of surreal when you just see this up front right now. I mean, I remember watching these videos from Boston Dynamics back in the days, like 10 years ago, and you would see like these robots on wires trying to like do their first steps, and yeah, now we're about to see where we're at right now. So
yeah, they're like dangling from the ceiling so that they don't fall over,
exactly.
and now we have this. So yeah, let's take a look. So I mean, the form factor is so much smaller now too.
The way it moves its
That's
limbs is
like how like a
crazy.
Terminator would get up, right? Like it's like
Exactly.
breaking the legs as it stands up. Yeah, there we go. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, so that's a great example of the new Atlas robot. And, I think really to get into what I think is most impressive about this, we need to kind of talk about Tesla and what they're doing, because I think Elon gives the best guidance on where this technology is going, being an entrepreneur who is rooted in engineering and product. He really understands this better than anyone. But Elon is expecting Optimus to cost like $20,000-$30,000 or less per robot. And that's a price where we really start thinking that many, many people could have Optimus robots in their home, doing construction jobs, helping on the farm, really revolutionizing the way we do things. So speaking of revolutionizing, basically Tesla's aiming to revolutionize human-robot collaboration through their humanoid Tesla bot Optimus. They aim to apply these humanoids in various tasks, but current challenges are keeping the humanoid cost-effective and ethically pleasing to society. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I touched on. Like, I think the cost effectiveness is really going to be a big thing. I mean, if we start getting these down to like $10,000 per robot, it's going to be insane. And basically, Elon is saying that he expects this to be the largest product in the world. So billions of robots sold, and really outpacing the number of humans. So significantly, I mean, this would basically, which seems crazy, but he thinks this will beat out like smartphones, which are incredibly numerous throughout the world. So I don't know. Can you imagine a world where these things are doing all the labor jobs and, making society way more productive? Or do you think lots of people just see like the downsides of these robots and see it as like a dystopian future?
Yeah. Touching upon also that, the ethical aspect. I think it's a 50-50 somewhere. I mean, I can see how people might see the negative aspects of it, but then also I can see how how it can be very well used in like manufacturing and maybe providing better efficiency as well with labor. But talking about the ethical aspect, I think I'm not sure if you've watched it, iRobot. Have you seen that movie?
Oh yeah.
iRobot. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think a lot of people who might not be as tech savvy or within engineering, I think it's a little bit harder to convince them that this is where the future is going, because a lot of people might have that notion of, okay, we're gonna land into a dystopian future, just like iRobot, and
Yeah.
I think that's something that has to be taken into consideration when especially Tesla is now developing Optimus.
Yeah, I mean, definitely like the risks evolve, right? And if you know anything about cybersecurity, you know that nothing connected to the internet is safe. And so you have the risk of like 0-day vulnerabilities and these robots getting hacked by malicious actors. Typically, to be able to hack like really advanced systems, you need to be a nation state who's actually got a program researching, purchasing, and digging up and building a bank of these 0-day exploits. But if you look at some of the biggest cyber attacks in the world, it's incredible what has been done. So you can imagine what could happen when there's robots like this. But of course, like, there's always going to be ways that we can think of better ways to build society and to protect ourselves from those outcomes. So we can't not embrace new technology because other people will embrace it. So I think we just need to keep building. But this is also really interesting to see here. This was from the Tesla event a few months ago. And here you can see Optimus actually serving drinks at the event with a cowboy hat on, of course. God, that's awesome. Yeah. So, you know,
I
these are
feel
all
like,
demos, right? But I mean, where are we going to be in 5 years with this? You know, things are moving so fast. And these aren't even using the latest LLM models to communicate with you. Like, I think it's so cool that you can just ask LLMs anything, and they're like a fairly smart person who knows everything about the world. So imagine when you can have your robot dog or whatever that can teach your kid about physics or about fluid dynamics or about engineering, about a foreign language. It's really going to be incredible to see the speed of learning that you're going to be able to achieve. Cool stuff. All right, so that brings us to another new player in the space, FigureAI. Also very one of the top players in the US, probably, you know, right behind. It's hard to say who's ahead right now, right? So, you know, right there with Optimus and Tesla. They've partnered with OpenAI to actually integrate their LLMs and all the tools that OpenAI has into these robots, which is really cool. And I know that they just did their first commercial shipment of these robots into the real world. So, you know, Elon isn't selling Optimus yet, but he's hoping he can get like, you know, $20,000-$30,000 per robot. I believe these are estimated to be like $30,000 to $70,000 we found. So unconfirmed data, but you know, ballpark what we can find. A bit more expensive still. But as you ramp up production and start producing these, you should be able to get this to a better price point to where more people can use them. All right. Yeah, so I mean, not a whole lot of new stuff here about Figure. I mean, you know, these are obviously, they're right there with Optimus, so they're using the most advanced sensors and technology. The partnership with OpenAI is really cool. That obviously comes with a lot of Microsoft collaboration as well, being that Microsoft is like 49% owner of OpenAI. So there's a lot of cool stuff that can happen here as well. And I definitely think they'll be a big player in the space. Okay. And that brings us to kind of the competition. And of course, who in the world is dominating robotics, electronics? It's going to be China. And UBTech is building a lot of great robots out of China. So the thing about China is they are dominating this category. They've been dominating manufacturing. They have half of the world's industrial robots that work in manufacturing. They build nearly all the electronics that we're using right now. And of course, they have all the infrastructure then to dominate this robot industry. So UBTech's building some, basically their robot looks very similar to Figure and Optimus, similar form factors. Really, Atlas looks a bit different, I would say, than the others with the mobility it has in the hips to be able to get up and do some of those things. But in terms of what UBTech, Figure, and Optimus are doing, fairly similar. The thing that I think is really just going to be a deciding factor for this robotics category, as well as for EVs, which we're going to talk about, is who can build the best product for the best price. And it's going to be really hard to compete with China on price in the near future. We have to build stronger supply chains and really have a focus on building things in the West again. And so this is going to be a big push. We're seeing the US already really take a big push on this, and you're seeing a lot of talk in Europe about what can be done. But I think the reality is, like, drones and robotics are also the future of warfare and defense. And so you're going to see a lot of nations really want to embrace this to make sure that we can defend the world and maintain peace, because the tables are shifting, right? Like, an aircraft carrier is not so valuable anymore if you have an ocean full of undersea drone swarms. So this is going to be really interesting to see, like, how we start manufacturing and building great products again in the West. Maybe it's not going to move all the way back to building in the US or building in some of the most advanced European countries, but can we bring it closer, and can we own more of the supply chain? And also, can we build the best product at the best price at the end of the day as well? So yeah, that's kind of my takeaway on the robotics category. I don't know if you have any closing thoughts as well on that, Emmanuel.
Uh, not closing thoughts, but I just in front of me I have lying some speculative numbers in regards to the price for the UBTech Walker S series, and it seems to be on the more expensive side of around 75,000 USD. But again, I think these are all from speculative sources. But just as you mentioned, I mean, in the coming future, they'll be able to ramp down the prices as well. But I think
Yeah,
for this specific model, the Walker S from Ubitech, I think they mentioned it was another speculative source mentioning specifically about how advanced its capabilities are, which is the reasoning for its higher price point. So I'm not even sure if considering its capabilities, that this is actually cheaper than most. But
yeah,
I mean, it would be interesting, just as you said, if we can, if the Western countries can also start managing to produce some really good products out there, really good humanoid robotics.
yeah. I just think thinking from first principles and looking at like what's already out there, China can build things at like half the price. So, Spot, the robot dog from Boston Dynamics, is like 70,000, and you can get one from China for like 20,000, 10,000. So, that's the supply chain and the cost profile that we're looking at competing with if we want to be able to build these products in the West. So I don't think they're really selling this Walker one yet, because these humanoid robots haven't yet really, everyone's in the early days. They're finding partners to test these out with and see if they can provide value. But in the next 5 years, we're going to see more and more of these roll out. So super interesting and excited to see this, and hopefully get to work with some of these in the future, because I think it's going to be a lot of fun.